Here we go, and it is time for another sprint zone. Prospect 1014, and it's the preamble. I'm the only one who's got telemetry this time. Ron didn't have his camera, but next week I'm certain it will be back. Well, it is next week, and I know he's got it, so I'll just wait for that video. Anyway, looking up front, everyone's looking most impressive. We've got Susan next to Elisa there. We got Danny up front. And everyone is in perfect order. Elisa signaling to pull off there. Rob's going to try to slot up there a little bit as we head into the sprint zone. Not quite certain why he's doing that, unless, of course, he wants more draft. I am content to try and recover a little bit. As you can see, my heart rate's at 145, 146, which isn't a lot. But, you know, the lower the better when you get into the whole zone. Good shot of Michael there on that specialized, looking strong. We got, it looks like Danny coming off the front, and Rob's out there in no man's land. He's pushed himself into third, into the pre-spot, and this is where he's probably wasting energy. He's definitely wasting energy, you know, being out in the wind like that. I'd have been like dropping back, but that's just me. And here we go, into the sprint zone, and it looks good. Life is good. Looks like that might be Susan up front and looking rearward. And you can see the lethargy. A lot of people just aren't, they're looking for position here. Rob's there. You see Michael waves people through. Kind of an unnecessary gesture, taking your hands off the handlebars. And you're so far over to the yellow line, people should be able to get it. And like, yeah, I can ramble on about hand signals and stuff, but people need to be mindful and observe things. In any case, I decided to take over and lead this one out. There aren't any supers here today. And it's my chance to do a little something and keep people a little bit honest. And I was probably going a little harder than I actually realized. Looking at my current watts, like 290, there's 300. There's my 30-second power, and it's creeping up, 230, 240. Instantaneous power, 370. So people are starting to work. Got Marcelo back there in the white, not his typical kit. He's riding pretty strong this year. Fred behind him. And Fred's been beating up a lot of guys on the OCR ride. So I'm expecting him to do a little something on this ride because, you know, I don't want to talk about shooting fish in a barrel or being the big fish in the small pond. But, you know, when this is your time to shine, you need to put it out there. And this is where we're calling for you to go ahead. No one's going to say, hey, you dropped us on the sprint zone. Don't do that. This is the time to go for it. But yet, we have seen nothing from him yet. But I speak too soon. In any case, I'm still going. I'm out front. I'm pretty happy about it. I don't remember feeling particularly good at this point in time. But in looking at my Strava data afterwards, I set a lot of PRs for myself, like, 15-second power and all that. So I was pretty pleased with that. Heart rate's a little high now at 175, 176. I think because of my second bout with COVID, my heart rate's a little higher than I think it should be. And I was just getting back into some decent fitness. So let's hope another 6 months, if the, God willing, and the creek don't rise, I don't get COVID again, I can get back to my normal self and maybe drop some weight. In any case, I'm still up front. No one is ramming in a thump, and no one really wants to go around. And maybe I put enough out there that people want to hurt. In any case, my heart rate's 172, 30-second power, it's starting to drop, and I'm waiting for somebody else to come through. And thankfully, Steve was able to take up the mantle. And there was some lethargy. There was some hesitation, and like as if they wanted me to go and like jump on that wheel. I'm like, no, thank you. In any case, I'm sagging back here, going to try to slot in with a nice spot. Don't want to be too far back. And there we see the caboose back there, the Lantern Rouges, the folks that don't want to be involved in any of the melee, yet they want to ride coattails. And so I'm looking at Rob out there, like basically sitting out in the wind. Rick right behind me has got a good position. Some of the other people, I don't know why they were where they are, like bleeding off watts. Well, maybe I think I do know why, because they feel a little bit safer. The more visibility you have, the more chance you have not to fall. But back to the action. Looks like Steve is still up front and we're still strung out. My heart rate's up to 164. That's a little bit below my lactate threshold according to Garmin, and we'll trust them on that. So I'm pretty happy. Although I must admit, like during these things, I don't really look at anything. Except if I'm out front for a long time, I might look at power, but pretty much I'm focused on what's going on. And there's behind me, people are like all over the place. We got Michael out there in the wind, and he's got enough strength, so maybe he just wants to like get warmed up, but I would be sitting behind Rick. Rick's a great draft and a steady wheel. Rob has finally taken Rick's wheel, looks strong back there, and now it looks like things might be starting to happen. Can't see who's up front. Oh, it looks like it's Marcelo up front driving the pace and keeping everybody honest. We got Don Doherty right in front of me, signaling that there's something in the road. Fred dropping back in the black, and I'm kind of surprised here, unless I missed a pull that he did. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Fred. Yeah, because you beat us up on OCR a couple of times, so it's my chance to voice my opinion of that riding style. Steve, nice job out front. Did a lot of work, and I don't know, we got Michael out there in the wind. I don't know why he's not on Steve's wheel, like straight away. There's Marcelo looking to get in. He did a pull, so I don't want to let him in front of me because, if somebody did a pull and there's an attack, I don't need to be gapped off. So I'm behind Fred. There's Bryce coming back in the teal, and Bryce is very strong. So I need to make certain that if he wants to slot in there, I give him a nice position. Steve looking strong behind me. And let's look at my power. 300 and some watts for a second there. 30-second power, 174. So it's no joke here. And you can see how much power is saved, but still it's a lot of work there. There's Susan looking strong, and you can see by her nice ponytail, the direction of the wind, ponytail sitting off to the left there, so there's a little bit of something. And without any supers, you can see the rotation is starting to occur. It's very nice. And Bryce comes through. Fred is doing some work here, and I'm going to talk about his kit here. Look at that. The arms are flapping. That's this watch is being bled off. You need a tighter kit, Fred. In any case, back to the action. Bryce hits this hard, and I can see my power. I was like over 400 watts for a second there, and you can see I was able to gap Steve off. And if that happens, you know that somebody's going hard. My 30-second power, 350, 360, 370, as I'm just trying to get on Bryce's wheel. Bryce is out in the middle of the road. Maybe he was expecting people to come through, but we need to work on his sensors because, a good starship would realize the output of the other vessels, and that was enough, unless that was an attack, to help gap people. So I realize we have a gap here. So I'm going to just stay on a little bit and keep these people honest. I realize there are no supers back there, so they're going to have to get organized if they want to bring us back. And of course, Steve's super strong with Ron in tow, brings him back very nicely. So smart riding, no real selection has been made yet. And I'm kind of happy to be out here. Let's make somebody come and earn taking the place here, because that way I can control the speed a little bit and the attacks. Everyone's still there. No one looking to come through. And maybe I should have continued with the rotation at this point. But at this point, I guess I was actually feeling okay, despite my heart rate being 178 for a second there. So I am way above LT. And I am happy that Bryce has taken up the mantle. It's good to see Bryce is back in the fold. He hadn't been riding with us for many years, but he's got a new bike and has come back and is a welcome addition into the melee because he's a strong man, a man who is willing to do some work, unlike some of the others. And they will be unnamed. So I'm drifting back here. We got Michael right behind me. We got Brian there, and we got Rick, and it looks like Elisa, who's coming back from a couple of weeks off the bike. And she's looking strong sitting back there. Up front, I'm right behind Don, TTH rider, looking strong, got Danny in front of him. And I'm being real cognizant here because there could be an attack at any moment, and I need to bring my heart rate down to be able to respond to anything that is going to get me gapped. In any case, here we go. And there's my instantaneous power up to 400 for a second there. As Don slots into the right upside there. Looking good. And I need to get myself a little bit closer. I see Danny's right in front of me. And it's good that he is holding the wheel tight this time. As the pace starts to slow a little bit from 23, 22 miles an hour. I can't see who's up front, but there's no real selection been made yet. Looks like that might have been Ron Kennedy up there. And I must say, I am missing the Ron cam to see what's actually going on. Michael behind me. And Michael is in the wind. It's why are you not on my wheel? This is going to result in some sort of a selection at some point where you're going to get just gapped off. Not that you don't have the power, but you're just not positioned correctly. And now things are starting to hot up a little bit. Things are looking good. And Danny figures it's time to go. There's Susan in front of me. And I'm hoping that she won't block me, but there's plenty of room. Plenty of room. She holds her line nicely. I'm thinking, okay, there's still not much of a gap yet between anybody. So I'm going to try to recover at this point and go around. But with a heart rate of 175, there's no recovering. And so I'm going to have to, at some point, make my move. And there we see we've gapped people off because they weren't there. And here I go. Oh, look at that, 600 watts. And that's what 600 watts will do for you for a millisecond as we launch past a few people. Thank you for your service as I am going for it here. Got to bring these people back. Life is good. 30-second power, 362. Yeah, and that was really good. That might have been my all-time high for the year. And there Danny goes. Bryce has given his all. Marcelo goes, and there's Danny. I'm like, okay, I need to get up there because Danny didn't spend a lot of time at the front. And I was thinking to myself, well, you know, if I had ridden coattails like that, I'd have won this one. Okay, maybe that's hubris, but I'm going to say I'd have won this one if I had sat in that much. So now my heart rate's like 182. And I've seen 184 in the past. We're not going to get there this time, 183. And then Steve comes and nips me at the end. And it looks like I got second place on this one. And I am extremely happy with my performance, especially having to come from so far behind. Well done. Looks like Danny took third. Fred maybe took fourth. At least I expected Fred to come up and like be challenged a little bit more. But maybe there's a lot of guys that do a lot of miles. And all their miles are hard, you know. And I'm not going to tell them what to do because I don't need them to be any faster. But they need to be doing some easy rides, doing these 300-400 mile weeks, always at zone, 3 and above. You just go watch a few YouTube videos and get yourself stronger. But don't listen to my advice because I don't need you to be any stronger. But I digress. Good shot of Marcelo there. I'm certain that jacket hanging out the back wasn't exactly helping him aerodynamically. But this was fun. This was good and probably one of my best sprint zone performances in a long time. Yeah. And a good time was had by all. Until next week, everybody. Peace out. Oh, there's the sample. I meant to put something in there like a good time's been had by all. All right, well, I'm not going to reshoot it. Anyway, peace out.